And we're back here once again with another episode of the Cloud9 podcast, season 17, episode 19. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the Cloud9 podcast, I am going to be talking with Coach Ed Sports. And nice to meet you, man. How are you doing? I did see you on I think it was one of the channels on Mitch's, sports
Mhm, mhm,
network that he
mhm,
runs, and I was like, this guy seems to be a guy that I could probably have a good conversation with, as regarding, sports actually. So,
mhm,
yeah, glad we can finally do this. It's just crazy shot in the dark sometimes when you kind of, start talking to people about wanting to do like a sports podcast because,
mhm,
I was telling you the story before we actually went live. I want you guys to understand the people you see here. You have to understand it's not that even that they were the first choices, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way or bad way. The problem is that you go through so many people when doing this, and then you have to go through people that are serious about it. You go through the people that are like, oh, I'm interested. Do you have something good that can help? Well, I don't really have anything. Okay, like what am I to do with that? Like I
mhm,
had people that were like, "Yeah, man, I want to do it." Hit them up. Laptop. Do you have a mic, a headset, a decent laptop PC? No.
mhm,
You have
mhm,
none of these things. Then, and,
mhm,
then why'd you say you're interested? It's just this level of unpreparedness people are when it comes to things like this. Like people imagine they could always do this while not actually thinking about like all the other intricate things that go along with actually doing this. It's
mhm,
actually crazy. So before we get into talking about like the NBA, NFL, and the other things regarding the sports world, since this is your first time on this show, we'll get your origin story first. So that way, if you ever come on again and we talk about like, the NBA, NFL,
mhm,
anything
mhm,
happening in sports, we don't have to do this again. You can just refer to the people to this episode if they ask who you are,
mhm,
your
mhm.
backstory. So how was your life growing up, man, actually?
I'm truly blessed, in a sense. I mean, I'm a product of a I'm a military brat. Let's put it like that.
You moved
So,
around a lot, actually?
only as a in my early years. Once I ended up in Jersey in 1970. My dad got stationed here in South Jersey, and he got stationed in South Jersey. But I've been Central Jersey, North Jersey ever since. So, but I'm a Jersey boy and been
You get the
here.
Jersey
And
Shore up there? What?
well, I'm not Jersey Shore. I'm Central Jersey, North. Well, now I'm in North Jersey, but I'm
Okay,
primarily
okay,
Central Jersey. So,
okay.
for those who are familiar, if you think about like the New Brunswick, like right next door to Rutgers. I mean, basically say that that's where I'm at. If you're familiar with that area, um, that's pretty much where I've been even though I know all of Jersey. But again, my life has been blessed.
All
Proud
the ladies
father.
out there in Jersey back in your prime, were they, man, you know the stories about Jersey girls, man. You know the stories about them. Man,
Yeah,
God.
yeah. There's always interesting stories. So, but I've been blessed. God rest her soul. I had the love of my life. Gave me three beautiful children.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. So I mean,
How long you been married
yes.
for?
Well, when I was with her, we were together 87 to 2002, so 15 years.
Oh
So, and
my
then she
God.
passed on, and handled my business with my queens, and I mean, I've had my fun. Coach Ed is,
Of
he has
course.
his dirt. Don't
You
get
know,
me wrong, but my main focus has always been outside of my family sports. You know, coach since started coaching in my teens. So I was a junior coach, and I've been coaching since 1981 in some form fashion. So, played a little college ball, and a little minor league semi-pro, but mainly everything's been coaching, whether youth football, high school, college prep, arena, minor league semi-pro. I mean, I know the game, know the game inside and out.
yeah.
Have a degree in sports management. So, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Did your kids play sports too?
No, I mean, my daughters did cheerlead, but their mother basically she's no, you can't force them. Because I wanted them. At first, I mean, back then I wanted to put my daughters in football, and she wasn't having it. She was now, nowadays females play football, and now the new trend is flag. But back in the late '80s, early
Mhm.
'90s, nah. Cheerlead, yes.
Yeah.
Other than that, no. So I mean, they didn't. They dabble a little bit, but they're not big sports fanatics like me.
Yeah. Okay. So, throughout your life when you were coaching, do you have
Mhm.
any stories about any difficult players that you had a hard time getting your mindset on how to play the game through?
I've always run into well, let me rephrase it.
You're
Yes,
good.
I've had players like that. Um, some, I ended up eventually, what, we just can't get along one way or another. Most of them, you eventually bring them into the fold.
Mhm.
So as a coach, you do strip players down. And you don't mean that to be disrespectful, but you want to break them down so that they end up understanding what you're trying to do as a coach, as an organization, and then
Mhm.
grow from there. So, and then also it's a bonding tool. So now look, I'm not trying. I always tell my players, I'm not trying to be your best friend. I'm being your coach. So, and one of the things I always tell them, I'm like, look, I'm going to yell at you. You know, it's when I'm not yelling at you, you really got to worry because 9 times out of 10, if I'm the HC, have them sit on the bench. If I'm a coordinator, have them sit on the bench. And that's going to be the end of it. And you can sulk, you can complain, whatever the case may be. But if you're not spitting into what we're trying to do, then you become a cancer, and I can't have cancers out there.
So, because since you've been a coach, I can also ask you these things. Where did you get your philosophy on coaching from?
Well, it varies. My first coach, Coach Palmer, who introduced me when I was a junior coach, youth football. Um, Started with him. Um, well, it actually started before that because my dad is a Steelers fan, and when I was in the '70s, he used to sit me down to watch the Steelers, and in watching the game, I could sit there and pick up the tendencies, and I could tell him, Rocky Blyer is going to get a handoff. Franco Harris is going to get a handoff. It's going to be a pass, and I tried to tell him who it would be, who it would go to. And I was about 45% accurate. And when you're, you know, 10 years old and you can pick that up, my dad was just amazed. And
Mhm.
that's why when I started coaching at 14, he knew it. And then from there, Coach P. Matter of fact, I just with my man Unpopular Opinion Sports, we just did a most influential people, and two of my coaches were there, Coach Palmer and my defensive line coach, Coach Dunn. They really inspired me, and they set a foundation in terms of my coaching philosophies. Now, from there, done a lot of coaching clinics, a lot of them at Rutgers. So some of it is Coach Shiano, but I've been to Penn State, went down to Alabama, Texas. I mean, also done a lot with the laser clinics online.
Mhm.
So I picked up things there. Bill Parcells was another big influence. So, just listening to what they talk, how they teach, their mindset. Because to me, um, I'm more mental because I like the strategy, the chess game. So
Mhm.
I like looking at the opposition. What are you trying to do? I want to pick up your tendencies. If it's 39 and we're in the second quarter and it's 7 minutes left and you're on the left hash and you're on offense, what are you trying to do? You come out in 11 personnel. Okay, what are you doing? Are you going to put the twins to the field, or are you going to put it to the boundary? Little things like that. Because coaches, we all, myself included, we all have gives. We do. So, and I like the strategy. Now if you're going to do this is how I'm going to adjust it. And I'm also thinking sometimes 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. And I'm also thinking towards the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
So, but and again, that's from watching a lot of other coaches throughout the course of my life. Um, in college, watching my first two head coaches, how they did things, my defensive coordinator, all of that. I've taken all that, my notes. I mean, Um, I mean, my guys would always say to me when when I first introduce my playbook, if it's defense, it's usually like about this thick. And I'm like, Coach, are you crazy? No, I mean, I'm not going to give you everything, but yeah, so
Have you ever dealt with in your career having like people consider you like a choking coach? You know, like maybe you had a moment in your career where you didn't win series that you thought you should have won as a coach because you had the better players. You ever dealt with anything like that
oh
where you feel
yeah, I
like you
mean,
had the edge and you should have won, but your player just made the wrong call, even though you told them what to do specifically?
look, I've made a bad call. Yes. I've
Mhm,
lost a game. Yes. Have my players lost games? Yes. Have I had a team with talent that we didn't win the championship? Yes. Have I had a team where, the guys aren't as talented as the other team, but we won the
I know where you got
championship?
that from. Yep,
Yes.
yep. I know.
Yes. So, I mean, again, I, since 1981, I'm going to run into that, so that's just, to me, that's just the process. You're gonna go through that. So
Good old Sixers line. Trust the process. That's what you always got to say.
I didn't mean it like that. I'm not a Sixers fan, so no. So
Oh, dude, there's so many of them. I thought they were like cockroaches, just seeing like the crevices and like ghetto houses, you know. But apparently now, since they have Tyrese Maxey, they think they can just come out of the woodwork and just think that they run
mhm,
the league. It's like, no, you can sit down. Actually, good lord, man. My Noops, the guy I usually sometimes do the
mhm,
show with, is a Sixers fan. Mitch is a
mhm,
Sixers fan.
mhm,
Oh my
mhm.
god, just so many of these guys just come out of the woodwork now. Where were you people? Good lord. So I'll ask you this. So currently, so
Coach Dante, that last one, he's so on point. Great on, yeah, Coach Dante, yeah. We know we've talked before, so but
are you?
yeah, yeah. So yes, you can have a thick playbook, but you gotta, and again, you look at through the course of training camps, so on and so forth, what works for your team. There's going to be times on, I'm tearing this out. No, we're not going with this. And there's times where, put it in, let it go, and keep it moving.
So I don't know if I should ask this. This sounds kind of mean,
Go
but
ahead,
you know,
ask anything.
but everyone knows I am not a guy that pulls fun. I'm always going to be a bluntly. People say I'm mean. It's like, no, I just grew up in a time period where we just told it like it was. Now, if you got mad, we didn't really care. That's the thing. You just got to just not care sometimes. So, how do you identify a bad player from a good one? What, like, with your eye test?
Are you talking about in terms of skill set, or are you talking about mentality
So it's
and
two different things
personality?
you could apply to that. So
Yeah.
essentially, throughout your coaching career, have you ever had a person that's not as talented with their hands, but their mind, they're good at
Yes.
analyzing the
Oh,
game?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
That's what
yes.
kind of sucks too, because those are the players that I absolutely adore because they're taking a aspect they don't have physically and applying it mentally. And I feel
Hmm.
like, man, those are some of the biggest what if players. So, like, what if this player was actually as good hands wise as this other guy with the mind he has? He'd be the perfect player, obviously. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it just depends from your perspective. How do you identify like a truly good all around player or a bad player? Or as you said, someone that's lacking in one area but it can make up for it in another area, actually.
Well, I mean, it does start in the meetings in your classrooms mentally, where you talk to them. How do they pick up the information? And basically, how do they relay it back to you? Because as a coach, you are a teacher. So it's like, you're in class, your teachers test you. I'm telling you
Mhm.
right now, some of the guys, when they first came to me as minor league semi pro, you give tests. Yes, it's not you just coming out to practice and then that's going to be it. No, I want to make sure you understand what's going on. If we have,
Yeah,
like
they
I
buy into
said,
the vision. Yeah, because
what's
that's the thing a lot of people don't understand is that the reason why I feel like if you're watching like an NFL team or an NBA team, I feel like the reason why some of these players don't actually get playing time or they're not as good as they probably are, maybe they're just not bought into the vision though. And it might be like you said before, me and meetings one. Some people
Mhm,
just this is a fact of life. Some people just don't click with people like that.
mhm,
But the
mhm.
thing about sports is people got to understand you don't have to like the person you're working with to do well. I'm pretty sure Scottie Pippen did not like working with Michael Jordan sometimes.
No, that happens, and
You
again,
know?
there's a lot of different factors going back to, like you said, the mental. I do start with the mental, and then it does go out onto
Mhm.
the field with the physical. Your footwork. How are you with your footwork? your hand placement, depending on what you are teaching. For example, if I'm in the trenches, um, I'm big with the sexy fatties. I like calling them sexy fatties, whether offensive line, defensive line. But how do you use your hand? Hand placement. Do you know how to some of the simplest things? You know how to use a push pull if you're a defensive lineman. Do you know how to work a rip, a spin move? Do you know how to lock out? Little things like that. And if I'm teaching you this, do you go out there and apply it? Do you work on it and then apply it? There's some guys who are not talented, like you asked me,
Mhm.
but they go out and they work hard, they work hard, they work hard, and they master the techniques. There are some guys who are just physically gifted, but they're lazy. And sometimes they do the techniques right, and then sometimes they don't. Those guys frustrate me more than the guys who are not as gifted. At least I know with the less gifted, I'm sorry. At least I know those guys, I can trust them to do whatever it is they're working on. They may not be the most gifted,
Mhm.
but they're going to go out there and they're going to give me something. And then sometimes you have those athletic freaks, and we all hear it. They'll take a play off. They don't give maximum effort, things of
Mhm.
that nature. And yes, you do try to push them, you try to motivate them, but they want to do it at their own accord. And those guys frustrate me to the umpteenth level.
Yeah, so a player like that is Paulo Banchero. You know who that is? The
Hmm,
star
hmm.
player
I love it.
on the
I love
Magic.
them.
This
I love
guy,
them.
I like the guy too. But he's one of those players where it's like,
Hmm.
dude, you're really good. Why do you suck too? He's like one of the weirdest star players I've ever seen. Like, he's
Hmm.
talented, he is good, but he's
Hmm.
just really inconsistent. That's the
Hmm.
problem. And that's another
Exactly.
thing that a lot of other people don't see too, is like you can also have a player that I like to use this. This was a Yu-Gi-Oh deck a long time ago. It's called
Hmm.
Mermail, where it's a glass cannon. So if it went off, it looked beautifully. But if it didn't actually go off, it had a lot of flaws to it. You could see the
Hmm.
floor to it. Did you ever have any players you ever coached where they had like a glass ceiling sort of effect where they went off, it looked really good, but their actual floor was actually really low? Is
Hmm.
there a way to like
Hmm.
improve these things if you have a low floor and a high ceiling to make it some sort of a consistent thing you get out of the highs more, actually?
It really depends on that player, to be brutally honest with you. I mean, they could have a low floor, but how do they work hard? Do
Mhm.
they work hard? And some of them is just, you know what? The floor is where they're at.
And that's
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
that's you can't
And
you
it's
can't
physicality. Yeah, it's life. Yeah,
yeah.
at that point.
So,
Yeah.
look, physically you could be, here, you could be right here and you could work hard and it's only going to get you here. And then you go up against somebody with elite talent and who has the intellect, the gift, the heart,
Mhm.
you're just not going to be able to do much with them because
Mhm.
they're much better than you. And
Yeah.
then as long as you just keep trying and give maximum effort, now it's up to me as a coach. Now I got to look at you and say, okay, where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses? How can I utilize your strengths and cover up your weaknesses in a
Mhm.
sense?
Because a player like him, he's the ultimate example of what we're bringing up. A player like him should be having like these regular seasons where they're
Mhm.
getting as many wins as like the Thunder, Spurs, Pistons had,
Well,
Knicks have. But the
it.
problem is, like you said, I feel like he doesn't apply himself hard enough. Like, and you see how in the post game interview, remember how like after they lost, he got it now. He got what you're saying.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. I am actually pretty good. Guys, if you have phone factor in one of the games they lost in that series they played, he outscored Kate Cunningham by like 2 points because he's one of the players that averages like a whole bunch of free throws because he
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
challenges and gets for a free throw. But he was literally keeping them alive in the game. And he said that. And I was like, you finally get it. You actually do.
Mhm.
And you know what that mindset is, guys? Everyone goes through it. You actually finally understand you deserve more. He
So.
understands now he deserves more given how good he is. Like you said before, is he going to apply that next season? He said he's kind of been pretty like cool with coasting for a while
Mhm.
on this team. Is he finally going to apply himself? Actually,
Mhm.
I don't know. Now, this
Wait.
is the thing. He has to go to the coach because they're going to have a new coach and be like,
Mhm.
hey, I think I'm a player where we can actually have like 40 plus win, 50 plus win regular seasons. I think we can make a deep run in playoffs. We might need to get rid of some of these guys. And he's going to be like, why? Well, I want a person on my team who's going to be putting in enough effort like I am. I don't feel like he's running the games down. I don't feel like he's bad, but it gets to a point where, like someone is good, but they lose faith in other people, so it makes them look bad as a result. I feel like that's his problem.
Well, I think also some of the factors are, again, I don't know the ins and outs, but again, they let Mosley go. So you're saying it's coaching, because remember, he came from Duke and he was coached hard there. So that's the other thing. Do the coaches push him? Or do you say, oh, because you're a number 1 overall draft pick, you should just automatically get it? Also, there is maturation, because remember, he came in at, after 1 year or so. It takes some guys a little bit longer than others to mentally get it here, to grow up, to understand what it takes to be a professional. So, hopefully a new coach that's coming in can learn how to push him. Yeah. So, I think it's a little bit more than, because yes, he's gifted, he's talented. I do think injuries have played a factor, so sometimes that can factor in.
But it's just good to finally hear him say, like, hey, because another thing you bring up, and a lot of people like on your show bring up a lot too, guys, you gotta understand, sports is an age dependent thing too. So like, I don't know how old he is. I forgot. I think, is he like 27, 28 years old? Something like that. I think Paulo has to be around 27, 28 years old. He came in at
19. Hold on.
Paulo, let me get. What's up, Gunnar? How you doing, man? I mean, 1 sec.
Here we go.
He's Italian.
He's 23.
Okay, so this is the thing I wanted to cover when it comes to like coaching and players like this. Because like a lot of people gotta understand, when it comes to sports, let's say this. I'll say it like this: your younger factor, like your prime, matters a lot, and that's kind of like the time that most people envision you winning, right? So I believe he's going to be in the league a lot more years. He's going to be in the league a lot more years. Probably bounce on other teams from this one. Maybe he's going to be the franchise player. I don't know yet, obviously, but it's these kind of things you have to come to understand. I think Charles Barkley said it in an interview a lot too. He had said when he got old enough, he said the younger players were looking at him like some chopped meat. See? And then there's going to be moments in your career that you thought you should have actually won, or you should have been in the conference finals or the real finals or anything like that. And keep in mind, guys, by the time, and a lot of people are going to go, MSK, it's just 1 year. You keep saying it's just 1 more year, Paulo's going to be 30 years old going, damn. Shit, where'd all my playoff wins go? Where all my series go? And keep in mind, a lot of people don't understand because they don't understand like the true philosophy of how like sports and things work. Just because you do something once does not mean you are going to be able to do that again. So I'll use them as an example here. They almost beat the Pistons. They're up 24 in that game. Wait a minute, you're the underdog. You're the underdog. You're up 24. Just win. You got it. Win game 6, you go to the next round. They do one of, if not the biggest choking manners I've ever seen. They choke in a way that is actually so bad. This is what happened. They scored because Paulo, as you said earlier, he gets a lot of free throws because he likes to foul like that. They made 1 point from Paulo because he made one of the free throws. Then they didn't score at all in the second half. Do you guys know that actually was a record itself? This is a league where motherfuckers straight up chuck the ball at the logo, and they didn't score for 24 minutes straight. That has to be one of, if not the biggest chokes I've ever seen. To not score at all is just unbelievable. And the factor is, a lot of people understand, you might not get that chance again. Remember the year before where they faced the Celtics and they lost? Like, obviously, people thought that it was going to be 4-1. It was 4-1. The Celtics were very good. And then they lost. This year, they had a chance to move on. Keep on, guys. Just because he's had this situation before doesn't mean you're just guaranteed to get that again. What if next year they may make the playoffs? What if next year they're bounced out in the play-ins? You don't know. These kind of moments in time in sports, essentially, I think the way of saying it is you have to win or get as far as you can in that moment. Because there's no guarantee they're going to have that. Like I said before, they have a new coach, which I'm saying, I hope he does a good job. I'm not saying he's going to do a bad job. But what if he doesn't get the players behind his vision of the game? What if all the players don't like this guy? What if they have locker room drama that prevents them from actually winning more games? What if they have more injuries? Like these things, you can't quantify for, so you have to kind of just win in the moment that you're in. And to see a choke like that is so disgusting. And keep in mind, there's no way you win after that. Want to know why, guys? No one chokes that hard and just wins the next game afterwards. It's just your brain is not in the. You're gonna always constantly think about, you know what? I probably should have won the game. Yeah, you should have. Now you
get
lost.
you. And to a degree, you're right. But again, based
If you should
on
have choked that hard, man, that is bad.
well, I'll say this, because now I'm using my experiences from minor league semi-pro football.
Yeah,
So, and I'm dealing with grown men. Some guys have been in the NFL, some guys came right from high school, but I'm dealing with grown men.
Mhm.
So, yes, I've
So,
seen where, you know what, you didn't handle the pressure as a
yeah.
team, and you got your hind parts handed to you. But the next time you went out on that field, you took the lesson from that game, and you took it and you put it on that other team. So it depends on the situations for the most part.
Mhm.
Now you're referring to basketball, so I get that. That's a little bit
Oh
different.
no, we talk about football because
So
I know you like football more than basketball, essentially. But it's just bringing up
yeah.
like pressure can
Hmm.
really make or break someone. And this is kind of why a lot of people always talk about the older guys being better at dealing with pressure than new guys. I mean, I don't think that's quantifiable. I think pressure hits everyone differently.
Yes,
It
does.
just depends on it. Are you able to let that moment define you, or do you overcome it? Because a lot of people like to do this too. They always go, well, let's just say hypothetically next year the Magic make the conference finals, and they go like, man, they came back from the biggest choking moment ever in NBA history to make the conference final. Yeah, there's guys also a moment where they could actually literally just not make playoffs either. This weird thing that fans do where they think the Cinderella moment is the next moment. It's like, no, guys, after Kobe won the Lakers the last title, there was no Cinderella story after Kobe. That's the Cinderella story. After that, they were probably one of the worst teams in the league for a few years. So just saying, you're not always going to be guaranteed these Cinderella stories straight afterwards. It could get worse. He could choke more series away, but it's like you said before, just understand how to handle the pressure. Josh Allen is another player about that. He's on the my God, he's the Bills. Bills quarterback. He's always a player where, hey, you didn't have Mahomes, you didn't have Brady blocking, you didn't have Jalen Hurts blocking you. It's your turn. You can finally get to the. I actually believe if he gets to the champion, if they got to the finals last year or this year when they had the Super Bowl, there's a good chance they probably win it. The Patriots' new quarterback looked like the pressure kind of got to him too. There's a good chance they probably win that. Maybe, who knows, right? But
yeah,
how's he? Because if he can't even get past these pressure scenarios, how do I expect him to get past that scenario? But you can also use the logic of playing up to the occasion too. They'll just play up to the occasion. It's like, well, oh God, man, that's all these different angles when it comes to sports.
It's everything. There's a lot of mitigating factors into everything. So you just you said it earlier. You just got to stay in the moment, and you just got to play in that moment, and you just got to take it from there. So, but yeah,
your friend or your sub said by midseason, coaching players gets harder. Those motivation speeches get redundant. So you have to be creative, and ultimately the players have a responsibility to keep their goals aligned as well. Yeah. There's also that thing that I forgot what it's called, midseason slump. Like it's the middle of the season, you're probably doing so-so or imagine really because imagine that like you're doing really, really good, and then you're having those motivational speeches like we're gonna round the troops up and we're gonna just high five the sky. It's like, guys, we're first place. What we're doing pretty good, right? But then there comes this thing about being complacent. Right? Because let's say you have seasons where you're like the best team or one of the best teams or at least top three, right? How do you not get complacent, and just be like, okay, we're doing pretty good, but how do we improve? Or if you're a bad team, what are the steps we take to actually improve? Coaches get early wins, players get late wins. That's true. Cavs are an embarrassment. Well, they have James Harden, so it's probably bound to happen. James Harden is just like my dad. You just can't count on him when it matters. Obviously, I can see them getting swept. I actually thought that was gonna go to dude. My predictions for the Knicks have been so fucking off. I thought they were gonna go to 7 games in all their playoff series because their play style is just very I could see a world these series go to game 7. I'll be honest, guys. After the Hawks game 1, where they kind of like threw it. No, they won that game. They threw the other 2, and they won the rest of them. I'm like, this should have been a 4-0. How the Hawks took off more games than the Cavs at this moment is disgusting because the Hawks are terrible. It's an actually terrible team.
Here's the thing. If you really look at the Knicks, what they've done is they changed after those 2 Hawks wins, which the Knicks played bad and they lost by 1 point in each game. So think about that. But they remember the Knicks changed how they played. That's where they went more to Karl Towns as the facilitator, which everyone didn't know how to defend initially, and the Knicks took off with that. Where now they've won 9 straight. So
9 straight, most in franchise history. 9 straight. Yeah, because in game 2, he had probably the worst game of his entire year in that game. Then the next game, he just actually came out and just straight up beat the shit out of them. It's like, holy shit, this guy.
It again, like I said, the Knicks have changed the way that they play.
Right.
Teams are now trying to figure out and, find a way to good shot. Sorry. Find a way to adjust to what they're doing. So, but now the other thing is you're also having other guys step up. I mean, Josh Hart just the last game, Mikal Bridges, OG is coming back, but prior to that, you saw what he was doing, so Karl Anthony, I mean, of course, Brunson. So, and you're getting help from your bench because that's the other thing. Because last year, the utilization of the bench wasn't there. So that also makes them a more formidable team to defend. So, because it's not Jalen Brunson, ISO ball, Jalen Brunson pick and roll. Now it's ball swinging, Towns, guys cutting, moving, setting screens, Jalen Brunson, playing off ball, coming off the screens, getting the ball. So now it's okay. Now you're not just having to defend Jalen Brunson. And now you have to really defend 5 guys out there on the field, on the court. So.
Oh, the other thing that comes up when you bring up Jalen Brunson is it's not that he's bad. He's actually good. It's just I understand why they switched up their style of play a little bit because as good as he is, as you would know, he's a little bit too, let's say, small to be making all the plays like that where you're driving in. He's going to get blocked probably consistently. So I understand why they changed up, actually, because if they play against the Spurs in the finals, if the Spurs make it past Thunder, which doesn't look like they are based off the last 2 games, but like Jalen Brunson is going to get all of his shots blocked by Wembanyama if he does that. So it makes sense why, they would switch it up a little bit.
I mean, yes, but Jalen Brunson is also going up against guys 7 feet and shot over him. So, I mean, he changes his angle on his shot. So, and his foot, what helps him? Yeah, he's not tall, but his footwork. So, and the
very good.
So, that also gets taller guys out of position. So, but again, I mean, yes, you win some, you lose some. He's going to get some block. All right, you move on to the next one. That is just that simple.
But to be fair, the Mavericks will ultimately always have the biggest L's. Guys, at one point, they had Luka and Jalen Brunson. You know how crazy that is? They had them both. Yeah. And now they don't have either of them.
Yeah.
And then both those players left. Then those franchises ended up getting plus 50 wins, 3rd place regular season finishes. Actually disgusting. Whoever was scouting for their team was definitely scouting for other people's teams too.
Well, I mean,
we have some really good pieces here. Yeah, now
you have good pieces. It's again, how do you mix them? How do you work? Brunson came on once Luka went out because remember he was the 2nd round draft pick and he was his backup. But now, once Luka was out, you saw him step up his game. Like everybody looks at him and they say, "Oh well, he's not a winner." Well, he did it in Chicago at high school, and then what he did at Villanova and playing. And so you can't put him and say he's not a winner, because he's a small basketball player. What small basketball players can't win? I get it. I get it. For the most part, they haven't. You've only had 2, I believe, Isaiah Thomas, and I'm forgetting the second one who have ever won at the highest level. But the point I'm making is small. But I watched Muggsy Bogues play, 5'3", and play at an elite level. So and everyone thought the same thing. He's going to get washed and Spud Webb. And I know this is way before your time, but my
Very
point
good.
being is they were small, but Muggsy Bogues was 5'3", playing in the NBA, and he had a good career. So sometimes it's more of what's in a player's heart. Plain and simple. I can give you the mental aspect. You can have certain physical, abilities, but it comes down to what's in your heart. Do you want it or not? And that's really what it. And Brunson, look, he has it. He wants to. He has that willpower. So, we'll see as far as the Knicks. How far they can go,
Right.
and
One
if
of
they
your
can win it all.
subs was saying you want to build culture. Cavs this series against the Knicks, they can't overcome that.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Okay, Arco.
I want to bring up something here. LeBron James has been the conversational topic, to be fair, and everyone's conversation when they have these kind of shows. But we're now at a point where this is what I think about LeBron. A lot of people think I don't like the guy. It's not that I don't like the guy. It's just he is one of the most underrated, overrated players ever. People overrate him, and then they super underrate him. They look at all of his flaws, but never look at what he does good. Then overrate what he does good, and then underlook what he does bad. He is one of the weirdest enigma players ever. I can't understand him. Then again, I can't even understand people that criticize him either, because it's never a hey, he does something good here, but it's always just one thing or the other. I feel like the biggest problem with LeBron coming up right now is he's won 4 times. Where is he going to go that is going to give him the chance to win again? Because if you guys aren't around people like that, or you're not around like a lot of winners in your life, people like that always want to win. It's just in the back of their head. They're always thinking about lifting the trophy, confetti coming down. They did it after a hard regular season playoff run, right? And I love the Lakers. I'm a Laker fan almost my entire life, but I just don't see it happening with the Lakers. I just don't. And I do respect him for coming in and actually, kind of having a nice turnaround for the Lakers. And you do have to factor in, I want to make sure I stress this. After Kobe won the last championship for them, you remember that Dwight Howard period with Steve Nash? I know he doesn't bring it up on
Steve Nash.
I know he doesn't bring it up on his shows now when he's talking to people, but and then remember the years after that, guys. There were years where the Lakers had a worse record than the fucking Wizards. I'm not shitting. I'm not saying it to make up. They were horrible. Because I know people may not like the guy, but there's a reason why when he wanted to come here, they chose to sign him. Like, keep in mind, they also wanted Kawhi Leonard too, but apparently Kawhi Leonard didn't want to play with LeBron, but different story for another day, obviously. But it's one of those things where him coming brought the Lakers back to somewhat of an idea that they could win again, right? Obviously, they didn't make playoffs the first year. We came, they got, they got a trophy. If you count the bubble ring and the NBA Cup, to be fair, if you're looking at it from a completely technical aspect, he did get them trophies to bring in, if you want to count those. I'm saying if you don't, that's up to you, but that's an if thing if you want to. Then they've been in the conference finals, which they weren't in the conference finals many years ago after Kobe had obviously left them and he passed away, and then they were going through that weird, shitty rebuild phase where they had nothing, and Nick Young and all that other bullshit. Then they had, they've had the first and second round playoff exits, but now Laker fans are going like, man, why are we not getting the trophy though? There's a problem. There's a problem now. And I feel like the issue comes up with the MVP conversation, like in these past couple years with the NBA. If you think that LeBron James is able to win a championship just based off his own merits, it's not going to happen. You want to know why I know that? Because even when he won his prime, he had other aspects to him and other different players that shored up the weaknesses. Remember when it was the Heat against the Spurs and Ray Allen made that 3 to save their season? Keep in mind, I'm not saying LeBron played always bad in those finals. I'm saying that a good amount of the reason why he won a lot of them is because he had other great pieces around him. And I know he had talked about, well, I had never been a third string in my life, actually. Well, buddy, LeBron, get used to it. You ain't going to be the first option anymore because he's just, like, no offense to him, it's just like he's not going to be that star difference maker like he used to be. He's just not. And we've seen that throughout this year. We've seen it to a point where, look at the last game. They trusted him to make the final shots. He didn't do it. Actually, look back at the Rocket series. Good chance that goes to game 7 if Jabari Smith isn't a moron and just fouls Marcus Smart the way he did. That should have went to game 7. There's just a guaranteed game 7 series right there. That actually wasn't his fault to a certain extent. But he gets to a point where you've seen him play. He has this thing about him where he doesn't get back on defense very well. Now, is it because he's like so before? Because he's old? He can't do it as much anymore? Or is he just giving up in his brain? I'll never know. I'm just speculating, obviously. Could be a mixture of both, Does he have faith in the Lakers anymore moving forward? I don't. It's probably better if he just moves on, because if he wants to get a final trophy before his final years of retiring, it's better if he just moves on, honestly. But if people factor in, there's much better players than him. Like, no offense to people that like him and think he's a GOAT. There's way better players than him right now. He needs to either go to one of their teams and win, or he can just stay here and get 50-plus win regular season, borderline first or second round exits. That's where the ceiling is right now. Look at the Lakers team. There's nothing there beside Marcus Smart, Rui Hachimura, and Luka. And they're probably going to get rid of Austin Reeves pending the news that happened later on today, because they want to get room in cap space to bring in Giannis. Are they going to get Giannis? Who the fuck knows? Because Giannis is always this unicorn everyone wants in their team for some reason. So Giannis, the mythical unicorn, we'll just count him not there. But just if he's looking at his mind to win a trophy, it's not going to be here, though. It's just not. It's just there's nothing here that is going to get him that far. Now, is he here because he's filthy rich? He could be filthy rich anywhere. He's literally filthy rich right now. He was filthy rich before he got here, So it's not about money. It's about, can the Lakers provide him an avenue to win and give him one more trophy? I don't think it's happening anymore. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's me being honest. But I want to know your perspective. Like, do you think LeBron still has it in him to win another trophy before he retires?
Okay, based on what factors? I mean, are you saying he's the number one option? No.
Right, I don't.
See, now here's the thing. Remember, LeBron was getting paid top dollar. So based on, and here's the thing. You said, can the Lakers win with LeBron? If LeBron comes back, because, I was just told recently, LeBron said he's willing to take a minimum contract. So if that is true, again, I don't know.
Right. Because, these things are always moving.
True. Yeah. Yes. Again, because he was getting paid, what, $50-60 million?
Yeah.
So if you can tell me he's going to get $2 million, that's $48 million that you can use to probably bring in other players. So based on your question, can the Lakers build if the money is there? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And that's without trying to trade for Giannis. I'm just saying, if you take your core players, if LeBron takes a minimum contract and you bring some good quality players in, maybe one elite level player who maybe is going to make, say, $40 million, and then a couple of other players who fit in, or someone who's making $30 million. And now you get other guys to come in. Now you have a bench. And, if you're not asking LeBron if LeBron is going to be that third option, then there is that possibility.
And that takes pressure off of him, too, without having to be like the core star. Because keep in mind, guys, he gets this a lot, too. Even though he's actually not the star of the team, he still gets all the blame if they lose, which is actually so crazy because most of the blame should go to Austin Reeves and Luka for not. And it's not Luka's fault. He was injured. You can't really blame him. But like Austin Reeves, he's just like my dad, too. He's just not there in the playoffs sometimes, and they're trying to extend this guy, too, because it's weird because if LeBron isn't actually the star, because if people say he's not good, so if the premise is he's not good anymore, guys, why would we expect him to win then? If he's not good by what you were saying, and he can be pretty inconsistent sometimes, too, that's going to happen. The result you're getting is what you're seeing. He needs to be the third option. But like you said before, what can they do to get these other pieces? They got to free up cap space. Does he want to be here? If he wants to be here, that's great. You have to take less money. I think if he took $5 million less or $10 million less, he's getting $40 million. That's not that bad, right? If it means to get, like you said before, a star player or another role player to go along with that star player, so you don't have to always be the center of the team, that's good, But then again, it just depends on other moving factors too. Like could he go back to the Cavs and have a better chance of winning a title? Or keep in mind, also, this also plays into an offseason. Why would those other better teams want him? So people say, okay, see, he's not going. They don't need him. They wouldn't even ask. They just wouldn't. Spurs, they have De'Aaron Fox and Castle and Wembanyama. They're good. They wouldn't need him either. To be fair, LeBron on the Spurs would be absolutely disgusting with those guys. That'd be crazy, honestly. Okay, you have the Warriors. What do the Warriors have? Most of their team is injured, and they have Steph Curry and Draymond. Draymond Green and LeBron would not get along on the floor. I just don't see it. That'd be terrible.
Well, see, here's the thing. We're putting LeBron, like you just talked about these different teams. The first thing is, what position is he playing? Because you can say he can go here, it would look this, but the first question is he playing a 4? Is he playing a 3? Is he going to be a facilitator, a true facilitator, and not a scorer? So,
You're right. Yeah.
So again, the first thing you want to do is, where is he going, and what is his responsibility there? That's the first. That to me are the first two things. So, yeah, does LeBron want to, stay in LA? His family is there. He's built his, now his life is there. The Lakers really are the team that he spent the longest with.
Yeah, he's only been on like
Cleveland 2 times.
Teams. Yeah, he's been in Cavs, and so yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are other factors, that to me play into these decisions. And let's be real. The other decision is, do the Lakers want LeBron back? Because remember, he's a free agent.
And keep in mind, even if they could have gotten rid of him this year, because people ask why did they try to? Guys, his contract had a no trade clause. Yeah. So around the February trade window, which is usually when people trade players, even if they wanted to trade him, they couldn't. He has a no trade clause. So
there you go.
I mean, and then people are also going to factor when it comes to teams like I said before, the teams that are kind of better than the Lakers. What would you be gaining by getting him, though? If you already believe that he's aging and he's going to be retiring in a couple of years, why would you sacrifice draft picks and good pieces you have right now for a guy that's only going to play for a couple of more years anyway? Like, what would you be gaining out of that? You're only gaining like more of like a win more now kind of situation you get. Because, some of these other teams, like, okay, let's say the Lakers want Kate Cunningham. What in the world are you going to give them for that guy? Bag of chips and a Coke? Hopes and prayers? I don't know. This is the problem that comes with the Giannis trade a lot. A lot of people go, why don't the Bucks just give up Giannis? Guys, quit being stupid. What do the Bucks gain from most of these teams? If you look at most of these teams' benches, like you said, and you look at who they have, who can they offer them? So all you're basically offering them is like what businessmen do. They do that thing. I'm offering you hopes and dreams. Well, these guys may be good. Who knows?
Here's the other factor. Okay,
right?
Because you just mentioned business. Don't forget, there is the window. So where you are in terms of, are you at the first level, the second level, and the penalties associated. So if you're trading Giannis, remember he's on a longer term contract. So yes, you have to get back in terms of dollars. Can those dollars that you're getting back be going after 1 year, as opposed to Giannis? I think is 3 or 4 years right now.
Isn't he 32 now? I think he's older too now.
Yeah, he's in his 30s. But the issue is and that's what GMs are going to look at, and these executives of the team. Yeah, you want to trade Giannis, and if you give me back the money, first of all, because of the CBA and what you're supposed to get in terms of dollars. Now, are you giving me draft picks? Now, if I'm getting draft picks and they're going to, in a sense, not rebuild, but refresh, and hopefully, if you can get it back right away, instantly, maybe 1 year, then you're going to say, well, Giannis is always hurt. He's older. Really, Giannis wants to compete for a championship. Is the team are the Bucks in a position right now to compete for a championship with Giannis? You got to be honest with yourself and look at that team and look at that roster. Is that roster, can they compete in the East? Indiana, with Halliburton coming back, the expectation is they're going to be a top-level team. Boston, we already saw, they went out in the playoffs early.
But they usually hover around like second, third, roughly.
Exactly. So they're going to be a team. You got the Knicks, you got Detroit. We just talked about Orlando. So if Orlando gets their act together, Atlanta,
It could be a dark horse. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying if you look at Milwaukee's roster, are they going to win and compete for a championship? Because that's what you have to really put in your
and that's
head.
why I wanted to bounce off your point, because a lot of people don't get this though. It's not like back in the day where like a bad team would just give you their star player because they knew they weren't going to win. Nowadays, most bad teams have realized, wait a minute, what do I get out of giving you my better player? I get what? Some lottery picks and some hopes and dreams. Like that's nothing. But like you said before, are you, if you had that guy, are you going to win with that guy? Is it better for you to actually get a future? Even though we're selling you a hope here, you might get it because these guys all might suck ass when they get there. But you have to kind of do that in business. You have to kind of upscale things and sell it to them. I think the Bucks actually should get rid of him. And like I said before, earlier with LeBron, does Giannis want to leave? Because it's always conflicting things. He wants to stay. Maybe he's not. They're not playing him. A bunch of things, obviously. I think at this point, he has to realize if he wants to win, you need to leave. If that's his mindset. If you want to win, you need to leave. Keep in mind, there's a lot of teams interested in this guy. It's not like he doesn't have offers. It's just, will the Bucks finally sign the dotted line and say, hey, you're allowed to go. We made a trade. We're sending you off.
Don't forget the Bucks did. The Bucks really wanted to trade work with New York. New York actually said no. They didn't want to blow up the team for Giannis. Oh
yeah, the Knicks were the number one option to get Giannis.
So that's telling me the Bucks are willing to trade.
Right.
So the opportunities are there. Now, are they going to say, I want a little bit more? And the draft capital, I think, is the biggest key. For example, I always made a joke with people. I say, Giannis is going to end up in New York. And they look at me like, nah, he's not going to the Knicks. I said New York. I didn't say the Knicks. Don't forget, Brooklyn is in New York. Now, Brooklyn can technically trade for him. They have the cap space. They have the draft capital and so on and so forth. Now, does Giannis want to go there? No, I don't think Giannis wants to go there.
Him and Michael Porter Jr., as good as they are, they can make the Nets.
Well, you'd have to trade Michael Porter Jr. to get him. So it's like you're not going to have anything with Brooklyn. My point being is, that's telling me that, what, number one, Milwaukee is open to trading him. So I'm not going to sit here and say no, but Giannis wants to go to a team that can win a championship. Now, keep an eye out on Houston, because Houston also, they have the young players, they have the draft capital, they're keeping KD, they have Fred Vliet, they have players there that if you got Giannis there, that would be an interesting situation, because now Houston, we all thought initially they were going to be an elite team, and it didn't play out. I think the injury to Fred VanVleet really hurt them. But if you had him with Giannis and KD, and I forgot who the other player they were talking about that they would keep. It would make them tough. Now they wouldn't have a bench, but it still would make them tough. So, but we will see once everything goes to the off season and see how things go.
It's going to be a crazy off season because a lot of these teams have been keeping some of these players for a while, and you can tell with how most of these past seasons have went. They know they kind of want to reach for a little bit more. But this is the problem that a lot of people don't actually understand when it comes to this stuff. You could want to reach more. Actually, what's crazy is a lot of people don't actually get this. You could make all the right decisions and you still not win, because at the end of the day, there can only be one person that lifts the trophy. That's just how that works sometimes. I feel like the Miami Heat go through that a lot too. They always feel like they do always the right things. And it's like, okay, even if I disagree, maybe if you think you do the right things, you can do the right things and still lose. That's not how but this is just how these billionaires work. These guys are, more richer than I'll ever be in my entire life. They just have a much different scope of how they want to look at the game. Like the Heat on the same spot. The freaking president was like, well, we're keeping Bam. Bam is untradeable. Okay. Who else you got? Tyler Herro. It's okay. Javier Jaquez. He's a taco. No. They have that one Mitchell guy. He's actually not that bad. He's pretty solid. But you want more of a second, third option guy. Forgot the other guy they have. Oh my god, I'm blanking on his name.
Where are you talking about? Where?
Tall guy. Good, solid guy. Could be a Zubac level player. Could be.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got? See, the problem is Dave also stumbled into this too. The sense of like not like mediocrity, but it's just most of these teams. Because you guys, I start looking at them. What can they do to get better? What are you giving to another team to make the deal good? Like I said before, you got to sweeten up that deal. I got Tyler Herro, Javier Arquez, and I got some draft picks. They're gonna look at you like, huh? Who?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
No, and that's the point.
The Warriors
That's
in the
where
same spot. The Warriors in the same spot. What can the Warriors offer?
the Warriors. Well, first of all, in terms of money, you have Jimmy. You have Jimmy, so that'll match up, and then it's it's not only the draft picks, it's the swaps. So those are things that you can add into, and if you want to throw in some second rounders, which but again, the Golden State, I believe of what I was told, they have a better package to offer than a lot of other teams. So yeah,
and they could be getting a lot better too. Like if you've seen the draft, now I think it's like the betting market and the DraftKings shit. LeBron, KD to the Warriors, that would be. I don't think it's gonna happen, but what they want to build the Expendables. I respect it. But it's like that is literally a win now team. You must win now. That's not a future team because a lot of teams I feel like are going to begin to like Charlotte. What is Charlotte going to do? They have some nice pieces there. Are they going to re-sign Kobe White? You saw what happened with Kobe White. I know people like Gideon. He's a good player for the Bulls too, but Kobe White was really the solid player for them. Once he left, they pretty much just completely fell apart. Charlotte was crazy as Charlotte didn't extend that guy. He's just maybe on a different team next season too. Good. Man, off season is going to be damn crazy. I'll ask you this for football. Who's the team you root for in football?
In the NFL, it's the Giants. If it's college, I start with Rutgers.
Okay, so what do you feel like the New York Giants can do to improve to try to get at least like a decent regular season? Because I know you guys did something last season that kind of tanks your season with trading. You got a certain player that really wasn't as good. I forget. I'm just forgetting. But what do you think could be? Do you think this season is going to be a lot better if you're a Giants fan?
Here's the thing about the Giants, and going back into last season, and to be honest with you, the last 2.5 years, I've been saying the issue with the Giants has been the head coaching. That's been the problem. In the middle of year 2, I said Dave was not a head coach, and last year proved the Giants competed. They were in most of their games. A lot of games they lost at the last minute. That's coaching. You can sit here and say this player, that player, Slayton dropped classes. Johnson, yes, players make mistakes. But in the end, it comes down to the head coach. You now have a head coach that can at least win you some of those games. So that's the start. Now, once you get past, Neighbors, whenever he comes back, yes, you need to still get better play from your receiver position, whether you bring OBJ in or, you develop what you have and work with what you have, with Mooney, Austin, Slayton can step his game up under this coaching, because that's some of the things that I've been saying, that there is talent on this team that can be coached up. Now, it still has to work. You still have to gel, put everything together. You have a new coaching staff, new players. So there's a lot of things, moving parts there. I'm expecting anywhere 7 is the floor for me, but I'm really looking at 8 to 9 wins for the Giants. I'm going to be honest with you. That's my expectation. 8 to 9 wins. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Very good. You're good. What's up, Michael? How you doing, man? Hello, Emily. How are you doing? Sam Merrill, why is he on the court? Actually, if you're watching the Cavs and Knicks game currently, the Knicks are still up. Good Lord. My friend who's a Knicks and Giants fan, because he's in Connecticut, but Connecticut is like 1 hour from New York with the train ride and shit. Man, Knicks fans are fucking insane. The reason why I don't want them winning is because these people are obnoxious losers. Like, same thing, and I'm an Eagles fan too. Philadelphia fans are obnoxious, crazy people. They are crazy. Good
Oh, I
Lord. No
mean,
wonder
I
why
grew
Will
up.
Smith left. You know, what's I got this reference got to it. You
Well,
know,
I
me.
mean, I get it. Put it like this: I grew up. I have a brother who's an Eagles fan, a brother who's a Cowboys fan, and my sister is a Washington fan, and I'm the Giants fan, and my dad
God,
is the Steelers fan. So, but
get the
getting
whole
back to the
conference. Yeah.
yes, but getting back
Walter
to the
says I
Giants,
think 7-9 wins
yes.
is a very respectable expectation for the Giants
Yes,
currently.
and the vast majority of Giants fans are, in that 8, 9 range. Some are 7. A lot of are like, no, we don't want 7, but I get it. You don't want it, but that's why I say 7 is the floor. 9, 8, 9. Now, if you say 10, that's a really good season. To get 10 to me, first and foremost, you got to do well in your division, and that it always starts there, doing well in your division. You got to at least get 4 minimum. To get 10 wins, you have to get 4 wins, and that means at best sweeping Washington and splitting with the Eagles and the Cowboys. So you do that, then you're in good position going forward. Now, other things have to work out, but again, is it possible? Because it starts right off the bat for the Giants with the Cowboys coming to MetLife. So it's a division game, and if you can get that puts you on that road to possibly getting going in that realm. So, but my expectation is, like I said, 8, 9 wins, and depending on how things, I'm not
Get the
expecting to
wild
get in
card
the
round.
playoff. I'm not expecting it, but if things happen and other teams beat each other up, and you're in that position, yeah, then you're in the wild card. So
Well,
that's what I'm hoping for from the Giants.
last few things I'll ask before we head out of here because I know it's going to be a little late for you coming up. First thing is what did you think about the Steelers re-signing Aaron Rodgers for the year?
Well, all
You
right,
think he's washed
it's
actually?
it's fine that you signed him, because I get McCarthy. Am I expecting him to lead him to the Super Bowl? No, I'm not. I'm not. But I get it. It's his last year. He's officially said it. So, all right, try and see if you can get some magic with McCarthy, because you guys were in Green Bay before. So you won a Super Bowl together. Also, mentor the young quarterbacks there. And now see what you have. Now, on the flip side, if you're like you were last year, 8 wins, you might push yourself out of position for one of the top quarterbacks. So it's like a give or take with them. Now, if Will Howard can develop, then you don't need that. Now you can build around him and get some other weapons for him. And if you can develop him like a Ben Roethlisberger back when he first came out, have good defense, have good skill, like have a good running game, and you have Metcalf and what you call it, who you just got from Indianapolis. I forgot the other receiver. But my point being, as long as you have the talent around him and he can at least manage, then okay, fine. McCarthy is a quarterback coach, so he's going to build him up. So with Rodgers, if he can, keep them in that position, and you know what, they're in the mid rounds in the draft, and you can get some weapons to build around whoever the quarterback is next year, then fine. But now, if Rodgers doesn't do well and the Steelers are picking high, okay, first of all, it's not going to bode well with Steelers nations. I will be honest with you. 'Cause
Man,
I can,
just coming to think about it with the Steelers, didn't they just fire their longtime head coach who had been there since like
no, he
2000
didn't
and
fire him. They did. He walked away. He quit. He resigned.
oh yeah.
So Tomlin resigned. So Baltimore fired Harbaugh, but not Pittsburgh. So
Yeah. The Ravens got rid of their guy right after they lost
mhm,
that game. Good Lord. And that's what I tell people too. Sports is cutthroat. You lose in must-win scenarios to go to the playoffs, and that's your last game. Chances are you're probably gone, just like my
mhm,
dad.
mhm,
Huh, God.
mhm.
The Steelers is a talented team, but they're an aging roster, especially on
Yes.
defense.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. So that's why it's like they're in a quandary. So it's like, what do you do with Rodgers? And I get it. I get he wants to come back. And look, we in the sports world, coaches, players, most of you, the average person, you're crazy, man. Trying to do sometimes doing the same thing. No, you got to change it up. But you know
Yeah.
what? We say, no, I just gotta. This is my philosophy. I always tell people, look, I'm a big film guy. Look, and I'm also a competitor. I don't run away. If I could play the number one team every game, whatever it's in football, basketball, and I don't care about anybody else, I just want to go against the number one team. They beat me. I'm gonna go look at the film and I'm gonna figure out what it is, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna try and beat them. That's my mindset. It's always been like that. 40 plus years. But it's also crazy because we're sometimes doing the same thing over and over for the most part, which is, you know, hard for the average fan to comprehend because you would think, well, you got to change it up because you did this and it's not working, so go do something else. But we're creatures of habit, so that's why I kind of understand what the Steelers are trying to do, but they're in that quandary where if it doesn't work, I can also see, and injuries can play a big role, especially on an older team.
Yeah. What was the thing that they were saying recently on like the ESPN broadcast? That floor hits differently when you get older. I'm
Yes,
not
it
gonna lie,
does.
guys.
Yes,
When
yes,
you
it does.
have injuries and you're older, it just hits different when you're younger. When you're younger, it doesn't even matter; it just goes away in a couple of days. Nope, when you're older, that just lingers
Mm-mm,
with you.
mm-mm,
Like your knees start locking up, they don't work as good. Freaking dick might fall off. Who knows? Actually, when it comes to
mm-mm.
getting older, actually.
Look, I retired from playing at the age of 35 because of spinal issues, and it was just like spinal surgery, rehab. Okay, I'll do the surgery, but I ain't doing rehab. I'm a single dad. I'll just retire and just focus primarily on coaching.
Miltos had a question for you. He said, how has the art of coaching changed to accommodate the era of free agency where athletes are not utterly dependent upon the good graces of a given team slash head coach?
Well, free agency really has changed the full dynamics because I do remember where teams had your rights, and sometimes you're with a team, 9 years, 10 years, unless they wanted to get rid of you. So free agency has what it does, but I have to say I support free agency because it gives the players the control of their career. They're not
Yes.
stuck with the team where the team now holds you, they own you fully, where now you could say, okay, I'm gonna play, 4 years and then I'm free to go. And I can go somewhere else and somebody can pay me more money because that's the other thing. They're getting more money, and look, they're the reasons why just like with college, you can make the argument, with the advent of all that money. But why do fans go to the games? They go to the games to see the players. So it's a give or take. Free agency has allowed them to do that, but it does create challenges for coaches. Look, how do I develop this player? And then I could develop this player and then he can go somewhere else and somebody else is going to reap the benefits. And then my job is on the line. So it's a give or take. It really is, in terms of, developing the players and they have the power. And then as a coach, you're reliant on the players. That's why, you have to have that culture. I mean, it's a word a lot of people don't like. Some people don't like.
Yeah, it's like
Some people,
tempo. Yeah, it's like those
yeah,
words people throw around that it's
yeah.
just an all encompassing term. But you do
Yeah.
have to build when you hear the coaches in some of the NBA games, like you hear the Knicks coach talk. You can
Mhm.
when I can hear the coach talk, then I can understand if they got the players around how they view the game, how their vision
Mhm.
for how the thing should play. Like my goodness, I don't know if the Cavs coach has that with this guy sometimes. Like you look at the
No.
Cavs coach, it's like, God damn. He talks like in this way of like he knows what to do, but he doesn't want to do it. He's like,
I
well,
don't
we're
you
struggling
t
here. Like,
you
yeah, you
talked
really look the
about
last game.
buying in. You
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about players buying in, and that's why I look at them and I'm like, they haven't really bought in. It's just something about they are a talented team. They really are.
yeah.
And for some reason, it's not clicking up here for
Do
these
you think it's
guys.
because he doesn't their head coach doesn't look like he commands a presence? Because it sometimes look like if you're not a commanding presence, the players feel like they can just kind of walk all over you, kind of thing.
It's to a degree, but here's the thing. I was talking with someone and he said Kyrie Irving And KD now are looking like geniuses when they're with Brooklyn when they said he's not a championship winning coach. We have to get rid of him. And look at where they're at right now. And you can make the argument that you can say what you want about KD and Kyrie well, Harden wasn't there at that time. But the point I'm making is they said he's not a championship winning coach, and you're in the Eastern Conference Finals. That 22-point advantage should not have come down like that. You talked about choking earlier in this broadcast. That's the choke. And it is a true statement. Wink Martindale said it best. Pressure busts pipes. And if you can't handle that pressure, you're going to crack.
Yeah. What was I saying? Pressure makes or breaks people.
Yes.
And you look at just that game. It was game one. Cavs come out swinging. Knicks haven't actually been on the court in about a week or two, and that matters quite a bit.
9 days, yes.
Yeah, that matters quite a bit in playoffs because you rely on, like you said before, tempo and speed. You rely on having that agency to keep playing, and you keep going at it every single day. Because like what don't you get when you don't do that in about 2 weeks or so, like when the regular season starts, you see all these teams that are rusty. That happens a lot, guys. You want to know why? Because it's called. This is thing in fighting called ring rust. When you don't do it after a period of time, you have to kind of readjust to doing it at that level. That's why some of the first regular season games were really sloppy because they just haven't adjusted back to that environment yet. And then you see it get better and better with some teams. When the Cavs come out and you have a lead like that, and then to hear their coach talk the way he does, like, wait a minute. So wait, you know what's going wrong. You didn't make the adjustments to make it better though? I just I get it. James Harden chokes quite a bit. It's been a known thing. It's been a known thing about this guy for many years.
That's where coaching comes into play. First and foremost, if you know the rules and you're going to lose your two timeouts by the 3-minute mark, and the Knicks are starting to slowly chip away. Hello, timeout. Stop the pressure. Stop what's going on. Give you guys a break. You guys just played a game 7 2 days ago. Their legs are starting to get tired. Give them a break. Give them a break. Settle it down. Okay, you still had one more before the 3-minute mark. Those 2 timeouts could have done wonders. Now here's the other thing. You had Dennis Schroeder. You had Strus on the bench. You had guys that you were up, so you could have put these guys in when Jalen Brunson was doing what he was doing. So if that to me, that game more than anything, and I understand about Harden, everybody kills Harden justifiably, but that was on the coach. That game, and that's where you talked about choking. That's where, and if the head coach chokes, it's going to trickle downhill because everything starts with the coach. I know I'm a coach, and I put a lot of responsibility and pressure on
but the same thing happened with JJ Redick too. Remember in that final OKC game, they have these last 2 timeouts, and they just rushed the plays out just to get them done, almost as if like he just kind of wanted to get the game over because he knew they couldn't make up the difference enough with the remaining amount of time left in the quarter. It's either you get a coach that rushes the last 2 timeouts, or you get one that doesn't use them effectively. And to not use your timeouts effectively like that, it's like because I know people could bring up like I said that it's not you, but like when people could bring up like, well, they just beat the Cavs, but they just beat the Pistons 2-4. Well, that means you're a good team then. People are doing the Pistons were higher ranked than both these teams. That means you can win. Are you telling me you can't beat the Knicks who have been playing almost 2 weeks? That doesn't even make logical sense. And you're in the position where you could win against them. And I remember just watching that game and going like, stop the pressure. What are you doing right now? You're winning. Why do you feel like, because I feel like in that game, it's the ultimate catch-22 of like, they feel like they should be winning the game, so they don't stop what they're doing. And it's like, no, you did a very good job. Now you need to change it up again. But the Knicks, they adjusted. They adjusted how they were playing. Cavs didn't. That's what makes good or bad teams. The Cavs didn't adjust how they're going to play. The Knicks did. It's not, and keep in mind, there's an old saying in sports, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. Yes. The Knicks started out very bad. And keep in mind, Jalen Brunson, none of them were happy about how the game went. They all were like, nah, we actually kind of ran it down. Most of them, if you ask them right now, should they have lost the game, they would tell you 9 times out of 10, they should have lost that game. That's what happens.
Exactly.
Even Shea wasn't happy with how they played against the Spurs a few days ago. They're like, yeah, we kind of sucked in that game. And now you've seen it get a little bit better and better. Minus, floppy fish Shea Gillis. All I'm calling, oh God, Shea, my good fish.
You made it. You brought up a good point about the coaching aspect, and in a sense, yeah, they do have to have foresight. You do have to have a feel for the game. Like for example, people always ask me about analytics. I'm not an analytics coach. I can't stand the analytics.
Yeah, me too. It gets
everyone
so
is so consumed in everything analytics, and it's just like in baseball. As a Yankees fan, I said, well, if you base everything off of analytics, the other team has the same analytics that you're going to have. So, logically, they know what you're trying to do. No, sometimes you have to have a feel for the game. Can you use analytics as an asset to help? Yes. I'm not saying don't use them, but sometimes I always say the same thing. My eyes don't lie to me. I've been a coach too long to watch the game. If my eyes don't lie to me. I can see what's going on. I can feel what's going on. So you know what? If it's taking a timeout when I need to take a take a timeout in certain situations, then I'm going to do what I need to do to help the team. If it's coaching, I'm not going to base everything on analytics. Can they help me? Yes. Like Greg Schiano, he's big on analytics, but he also has the feel of the game because he has a book there. He has somebody in his ear telling, and that's when I'm like, that's when analytics help. You tell me, but let me make the decision. Do I want to go with it or not? Just like everybody says, oh, analytics say, when you go for a 2-pointer. And I always say, tell people, I'm like, look, I understand the 2 for 1 and all this or that, but what's the percentages in terms of now? If you're telling me in terms of going for 2 points after you score a touchdown, your percentages are telling me you're 60%, I'm going to back off. But I'm going to be honest with you. You're probably in the 20 to 30% range. But now if I'm kicking extra point and I'm getting the 1 point every time I score a touchdown, you can tell me, oh, well, if they score a touchdown, they're getting to, okay, but how many times? How many times have they not got the 2-point conversion and now they're chasing to make up for that? But now if I'm kicking extra points every time I score a touchdown and you don't make your 2-point conversions and I come down and I win by 2 points.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know the analytics conversation was happening on like First Take and some of the ESPN broadcasts too. So my thing with it, a lot of people like to use analytics as this like end all be all concept. So and I have to tie it to another point before I go back to this point. So just follow me here, guys. Okay, so this is something that a lot of people do now. So this is a concept called LARPing. And this is not live action role play. To a certain extent, you could probably apply that to that. So a LARPer is someone, okay, so like people know I have comic books and omnibuses back here. Some people have them back here for just a decoration. They've never actually read the content in them, and they've never actually even opened them. Some of that shit is still in the shrink wrap. Now, mine is still in the shrink wrap because I told people I'm going to actually review them. They're just there because I'm just, for reasons, right? So some people will have, like, let's say a Michael Jordan jersey behind them in a case. You ask them, how many titles did Jordan win? They couldn't even tell you. You want to know why, guys? Because they're LARPing. They're kind of like faking to a certain extent how much they know about something, right? So keep in mind what I just said there versus what we're going to go to analytics. So like, let's say the analytics prove today James Harden is one of the best scorers in NBA history, and that's awesome. I don't know what that translates to winning, but he sure is a really great scorer. And then an idiot, a person who doesn't actually watch the games will go, the stats say that James Harden's a good player by how much he scores. How much of that is free throws? A lot of people actually get that. How much of that's free throws? How much of that is him actually, I don't know, getting the ball constantly based off of like who his team is? Is he the person I said before handles the ball? Then another thing that goes into stats is that like stats don't always show what's actually happening in the game. So people can use like LeBron. LeBron has some pretty good stats, right? Do you guys watch him play? I've seen this guy play where he's probably one of the most inconsistent players in some games. But people say, but the stats show he's not. I don't give a fuck what those stats say. I know what I just saw. He's not playing good. But the stats show it's playing. What are we? Are you okay? This is the thing. Are you a numbers person? Or are you actually watching what's happening on the floor? That's why I bring up the LARPing aspect. A lot of people are LARPing as far as like how much they actually are invested in this stuff. Like we'll see Lakers fans go, well, by the numbers, the Lakers dominated Rockets a lot. Guys, by the numbers, that should have went to a game 7 if Jabari Smith didn't intentionally foul Marcus Smart for whatever reason he thought he could do that. Now the numbers say the Lakers did very well that series. I don't know about that. You look at some of those games, most of those were definitely because of other different factors. I'm just saying, like, when it comes to analytics, a lot of people got to stop doing that. Just because something has good, so like Austin Reeves, right? Austin Reeves can average 30 a game. And someone told me Austin Reeves averaging 30 a game means he could run his own team. No, he can't. I've watched him. He can't run his own team. I don't care what those numbers say. Keep in mind, people chuck threes, guys. Wempiana in one of the games recently walked up to the fucking logo and just did a three. Because he asked, why'd you do that? I felt like I could do it. Okay. It's all right. And keep in mind, that goes on the score. That goes on a stat sheet. He didn't even think it was a good idea. He just felt like he could do it. And he's good. He's very good. He obviously can do it. I'm not saying he can't do it. It's just this weird thing of like, because a player could average 30, that makes them look better. Oh, Austin Reeves can score 30 points again. How'd that work for the Lakers in the last series against the Thunder then? Austin Reeves averages 30 a game. How'd that work against the Thunder? Oh, shit. Stats don't tell the whole story, though. Because a lot of people just use the numbers to inflate their argument, and you ask them, have you watched this game? Where are you getting this information from? They'll go, well, I just read it online. You're a moron. You're not even watching the game.
Here's the other thing that plays into it, and this is my opinion.
Right.
But
I just like
I will stand on the highest mountain with this. People use analytics because of the advent of fantasy sports. Because that goes into it where, for example, everybody asks me, Coach, why don't you do fantasy football? You'd be good at it. No, I don't believe in it because first and foremost, I'd have to pick guys who are on other teams. And if they're playing against my other team, I'm sitting here rooting for them to score points. No. I can't do that. But people use analytics for their arguments and their fantasy football teams, and I've heard it all, and I've heard every argument.
Yeah.
That's when analytics comes in. It's such a big demand and high volume, and PFF with this and this site for you're using that because you know what, the casual fan, and that's in all sports. I don't care if it's football, basketball, hockey. This fantasy football, and people go to these analytics to build their teams because that's the thing. But an old school coach like me, who's looking at the film, who's looking at the techniques, who's looking at the down and distance, I'm not going to be good at fantasy football. One, because I don't believe in it. Two, I probably pick every player from my team, so it's like it defeats the purpose. So I'm like, I just can't do it. And that's what I believe why analytics have played a large
disservice, you would say.
No, but it's talked about so much in terms of sports because the casual fans have now been
they can relate to that easier. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because I like another aspect of analytics I don't like is that it almost incentivizes someone not to watch the games because the numbers will always be there in some shape or form where it requires no forethought into actually engaging in the medium. So for someone to say like, and I'm not picking on LeBron, I'm just when someone brings up he's playing good because the numbers show it, I'm like, did you watch up where he didn't get back on defense after he himself gave up the ball, turnover 30 times? But the stat, he literally, I'm not saying he did, but this is a hypothetical. You can bring up, he literally turned the ball 8 times. But he scored 25. I don't give a fuck. He could have scored 50. He turned the ball 8 times. I think he played pretty poorly. He would tell you if he turned the ball 8 times over, he played poorly. This weird thing where stats are like the end all be all of all conversations is so stupid. Now, I understand when they have championship aspects to them, I think they can matter in that aspect. But when it comes to like, well, guys, anybody could really score 30 in this league. Bad players have scored 30. Guys, Peyton Pritchard, who's not even that good on the Celtics, could score 30 a game. Do you think he could run his own team because he can score 30 a game? You would never. If anyone builds a team and puts Peyton Pritchard as their first option, I know your ass was sniffing crack because you're not building a serious team.
No, he's not a number one. But he's a good complimentary. So
yes, I'm not picking on him.
No, I get what you're saying.
If the stat sheets say he scored 30 games, you're gonna trade him for your first option? No one would ever do that. That'd be ridiculous. Because it's crazy. The Celtics would gladly. Oh, you think he's worth that? Take him. Can I get 20 million? They'll take that trade any day because even they know it's full of shit. But the thing, like you said before, executives, they look at stat sheets to make a team, or casual fans, they love that shit. And it's just always going to be that thing where you're arguing back and forth with someone. It's like, you know how much someone's watched the game when they keep bringing up stats. Like in League of Legends, that happens a lot too, where a player, you can watch your own eyes play literally the most horse shit way ever. But then they'll have like a good score line. It'll be like 10-0, 20 assists. But dude, they had 10 kills. How'd they get those 10 kills? Were they gifted them? Did he kind of luck into them because they incorrectly dove him? Where does it start? Where I feel like the problem with analytics is it requires no forethought into a discussion. It's like it's meant to kind of just be like, it's a nice thing to have, but it shouldn't be this like end all be all thing that everyone uses for like, guys, all those points James Harden scored, has that ever amounted to him getting a trophy? Actually, Kobe Bryant said, literally, that play style can't work to win a trophy. I mean, his stats are looking good. The great Kobe Bryant was right. That looks good on a score sheet, like you said. That doesn't really translate to getting trophies, you know? James Harden would trade in all those points right now if it could mean he could win trophies right now. All of them. If he was a second, third string option, he'd give them all right now for a trophy. Promise you. Even if it was a conference finals trophy, he'd give that shit up. So, last few things I'll actually mention before we head out is the first things first, which is, do you have anything planned coming up you would like to let the audience know about?
Like I said, tomorrow, I was working on the streaming the Liberty versus the Wings because I covered WNBA, and I might do that, or I might do the UFL game tomorrow. I believe it's Houston. I gotta go back and look at the schedule, but it's the 7:00 game tomorrow, and then next week, Tuesday, I have WNBA She Got Game with my man, the Man Cave and Leaf Diggy, where we talk about the WNBA. And then on Wednesday, I have Heart of the City with my boy, Unpopular Opinion Sport, aka NYG22, where we talk about the scene on the New York sports scene, talk about what's going on, all sports, football, basketball, baseball, hockey. So we cover everything. I have my own segment, Coach's Corner, where I talk the women's game and college sports. And we also have a culture segment. So, I mean, we've covered music, foods. We've done everything. Movie. I mean, we've, talked about a lot of different things. So, that's what I have, for the early part of next week.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the WNBA, hopefully, Caitlin Clark drama is always so spicy. My God. You know what's crazy? Angel Reese should go to the Fever. That would be, I know it'd be terrible.
No.
But dude, the fireworks. Could imagine the fireworks. That would be the best drama ever.
First of all, I can't have the Bayou Barbie, I need her to go against her first and foremost.
No. I agree. It's better if they're rivals, but imagine a world where they're on, just imagine the drama.
No, I know.
Oh God. That would give the WNBA ratings they've never seen in years. Imagine the content they could make around Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark on the same team. That would be crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, you saw it in the Olympics when they were on the Olympic trial team earlier. So yeah, so I get what you're saying.
Oh man, they would have a great rebounder. She is really good at rebounding, shooting.
Yes.
There's a lot to be desired, I guess.
Look, they need to. When they move, because what most people forget, she was a guard in high school, but she got a growth spurt and she was good at rebounding. So they wanted her down there in the box at Maryland and then down at LSU. And I get it. And she's good at defense. She's physical, so I like her with Atlanta. So as a Liberty fan, I want to, see what we can do, how we can compete against them. So, but look, if you can get Aaliyah Boston off of the Fever, put her on the Liberty, I would be in heaven right now because I love Aaliyah Boston. So
Oh, what's that? Man, is Kelsey Plum,
yeah,
Southern Sparks, right? She is pretty.
yeah, Kelsey's
I'll
yeah.
say, a lot of people are talking about like Caitlin Clark's attractiveness. I'll be honest here, I don't find her that attractive. I think there's actually better looking women than her. She's just really decent at playing basketball. So I kind of,
Well, if you take her out of her basketball gear and she cleans up well, she does. I'm
yeah,
not
she looks.
I'm not saying she's supermodel, but she's okay. She's good. She's nice. So look, yeah,
Do you
there's
think
a
the
lot
Fever can
more
win a title actually? Because they really want to win a title at this point. Do you think it's possible?
right now. No, it's going to be hard for them, and I get it. We in the beginning of the year they talked about them. First and foremost, it's not even about the Liberty. I don't think they can. They are not going to match up well with the Aces. So, and
Yeah, because they have
that's going to give them,
Asia. I forgot her name.
yeah,
That
Asia
lady. Oh my,
Wilson,
she's very good
Chelsea
for a
Gray.
female player. Yeah.
Now you have Kennedy Carter coming off of the. Kennedy Carter is a starter, and she can get you 30 easy, easy. You have Jewel Lloyd on the bench over there, so they are a tough matchup for a lot of teams in the league. Minnesota, especially when you get what you call it back from injury, when Fee comes back, they're going to be tough. So I don't know if Indiana can win a championship right now. If you're talking about maybe in another 2 years or so, especially when some of the top level players end up going and this group of young players who are coming in now, are starting to work their way up, then yes, I will give them 2 years depending. But
Mhm.
right now, this year, no. And they have a good squad. They're going to be tough. Sophie Cunningham, that's another baddie that I love. She does her thing, but and they have good talent. Coach White, she's a good head coach, but I don't know. Right now, can they win a championship this year or next year? I think it's going to be hard. If the Liberty, once they gel and they get going, I think that would be a hard matchup because their top four is better than their top four easy.
Yeah.
Because
Also, when I watch the Fever games, it feels like the same issues keep popping up every year. It feels like I feel like when she started playing with them, there was no one really else to help her. Then it kind of like how to say it. It's an analogy I could give. They're like the sum of their parts. I forgot the
mhm.
actual analogy. They're like the sum of the parts. So like what they have can get them kind of far, but it won't get them across the finish line if that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah,
here's the thing. Last year, remember when they won the in season tournament, the Commissioner's Cup. They won it without Caitlin Clark.
they
Remember
did.
that, and they
Yeah,
they were very good. And you focused on Aaliyah Boston, and Aaliyah Boston elevated her game. Now, them losing Natasha Howard, because she's a multifaceted glue type of a person. She can score, but she can play defense. She can get the rebound. She did all the little things that you needed, and I think that that hurt them going forward. So it's like, okay, well, Natasha. So you have other players who came in, but you brought in a couple of players to try and make up for what she brought you as one player. So um, I think they're going to be a good team. I think they can probably make it to the final four in the playoffs, give or take. But it depends. It depends on Atlanta, depends on New York, Minnesota, of course the Aces. We have to see. We really have to see, and who's going to be the surprise team? Because the surprise team I'm watching is, well, the Valkyries now, after they just annihilated my Liberty, they may be another one. And Washington, they have a lot of young talent. They have great size, they have depth, but they're young. They're very young, so it depends. So again, I'm waiting to see. Oh, and Dallas, what is Dallas going to do? Can they gel and can they get together? They might be just missing the cusp. They might be a back end playoff team, but again, we have to see. So
Milkto says, how does one manage consistent coaching across a team when the players are a varying age, i.e., veteran versus rookie? Does different ages require different coaching styles?
No, because if you have young talent, you're trying to, you should be bringing them in to fit your team, So and you want veterans who are there to, mentor them and help them grow as players. One of the teams that I had, um, my Jersey Shore Hurricanes, back in 2016. We had great veterans, but we had a lot of young talent also that came in, and we made a strong run to the playoffs. Now we didn't win the championship, but I say that because we were a team that was blended, and a lot of the veteran guys, they knew me, they had played for me on other teams, so they knew exactly what I was looking for and how to relay that to the young play and the young talent that was coming in to be a part of the team. So again, it really goes down to your culture.
Mhm.
If you're, you said earlier where if you're a pussycat type of a coach. Well, if you're a pussycat type of a coach, you're not going to win. I'm sorry. You have to know when to be stern and you have to know when to pull back. You got to know your players. Some players, like me when I played, I was the type of player I wanted the coach to yell at me, to motivate me. Look, he's over there talking about your mama. Oh, he is? Okay, coach, I got you. I got you. And then when I'm coming to the sideline, why did you miss this on this assignment? Why didn't you do this? We worked on this technique. Those type of things get to me. But now there are other players, you know what, you got to baby them. You come on the sideline, you start to yell at them, but now you pull them to the side, put your arm around them. Look, I'm yelling at you because I believe in your talent. You're a much better player than what you're showing out there. I know, coach. You're right. You're right. And they'll go back out there and they'll play well. So you got to know your players, and your players got to know you as a coach because they got to know you care. If you care, fine. But if you're going to let your players walk all over you and do whatever they want, then why are you even a coach? Why are you out there wasting everybody's time? So in
Man,
terms
now
of
you're just
different
taking shots at the
ages,
Nuggets. That's what I feel like is the problem with the Nuggets. Jokic runs the team, and the coach is kind of like an actor. No offense to the coaches they've had. It just kind of feels like he's the coach and the player. And if anyone oversteps that, he could just ask you to be traded. Crazy. A player could have that much say in the team,
well,
actually.
you know what? Players today would hate me. You want to get traded? Okay, you're gone. But that's your superstar player. I don't care. I'm trying to win a championship. Are you a cancer and that you're going to stop us from winning?
Mhm.
Or are you? I'm trying to get guys. Look, if I have a roster where my talent doesn't equate to yours, but they're going to go out there, they're going to play the system, they're going to do what we need them to do, and they're going to compete at the highest level, I'll take that 9 times out of 10. Sorry, that's just me.
And the last thing I'll ask you, man, is do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular and anything else you want to say before we head out?
Shout out to the Hardcore Sports Network, the Aboriginal Sports Network, the two networks that I deal with on a regular basis. A lot of great content creators there cover you on a gambit of many different sports. Man, just tap into them, and you'll find your niche or whoever you're looking for. So there you
Yes,
have
sir.
it.
It was great to finally talk to you, man. It was
Mhm.
glad we
Appreciate
glad
you.
we could finally do this. Hopefully, we could do this again. When the
Definitely,
NBA
definitely.
season's over, or when the NBA. Oh, sorry, when the NBA season is over, or we could probably do this again when
Mhm.
the NFL season starting too. Because with football, and I need to improve my knowledge more about football. Like I do like watching football, I enjoy watching it, but I'm not as strong on it knowledge wise as I am on basketball because I like
Mhm.
basketball a little bit more. But and that's kind of what I want to do. Like you brought up earlier, how can you improve yourself with doing other things? I want to just get better at doing sports kind of related podcasts too, because I did mostly esport podcasts, and then
Mhm.
I was like, you know what, time to pivot because it's been hard to find a League of Legends co-host for a little bit to talk about the game. So talking about basketball is fun, and talking about football is fun too. Hopefully, Jalen
Mhm.
Hurts doesn't it make me want to throw myself out of a building this year, actually.
Oh,
But we'll leave that for another day. But yeah,
mhm.
make sure you guys go and subscribe to Coach Ed Sports YouTube channel. And thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Cloud9